Ahead of the noisy holiday weekend, a warning when it comes to your hearing. Doctors say you need to take it seriously.
Dr. Dave Fabry joins us today. He is the Chief Hearing Health Officer at Starkey. Great to see you.
Thanks for coming in.
And we're going to talk about the risks with fireworks, but let's just talk about hearing loss in general first,
Sure.
if we could, because many people don't realize how prevalent this actually is in our country.
Yes, there's over 44 million people in the U.S. with hearing loss. Many people think of it as an older person's affliction,
Sure.
but it can it impact anyone at any stage of life, from birth to in their 90s and 100s. And while it is true that the older you get, the more likely you are to have hearing loss, there are things that you can do throughout your life to prevent noise damage that causes, it's the single biggest contributor to hearing loss in our youth and in midlife.
Well, you're going to give us good advice today.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to hear about what we can do. So we want to talk about, you said people usually think that it impacts older people, but that is not the case. And what age, what is it? What is the issue?
Well, what happens in the ear, there's what's called conductive loss. If you've had children who had ear infections, that's a temporary kind of loss that resolves typically as kids get a little bit older. They may have fluid behind their ears. They sometimes need to get tubes. But the most common type of loss, 90% plus, is sensory in the inner ear. And there's these tiny hair cells that translate motion in a fluid environment into electrical impulses that go to your brain. Those hair cells are very vulnerable to noise exposure. When a blast comes in, think of it as a tidal wave that goes into the inner ear. And if that level is loud enough, it can cause instantaneous damage. When we're talking about fireworks, it can exceed, fireworks, if you're close to it, can exceed 150 decibels, which is louder than a jet engine, and can cause instantaneous damage from a single noise exposure. That's why fireworks is such an important thing, and the 4th of July serves as a good reminder to try to isolate and provide really three things: distance, the intensity of the sound, and the duration of the exposure.
What is the realistic advice for people this 4th? What should people be doing? Because it's part of the tradition.
It's part of the tradition.
250th anniversary. People are going to be around fireworks.
I'm not going to be a buzzkill. I want people to go out and enjoy the fireworks. But if they're going to an outdoor venue where maybe they have a concert beforehand, be thinking about the fact that how loud is that level at the concert, because that sets up sort of a daily exposure level. And if it's too loud and your ears ring or feel stuffy afterwards, even before the fireworks begin, you've already likely caused some at least temporary damage. So one thing that you can do is, if you're outdoors and you see where they're going to be lighting the fireworks off, get at a safe distance where you can still see the fireworks, but get far enough away. That lowers the intensity dramatically with distance. The other thing is just take breaks. It's not just fireworks that are the issue. I mean, you know, if you're having people over to your house and you're cleaning up and you're using a leaf blower and the lawnmower, those both contribute to noise exposure too. And so it's really that duration of the exposure and the intensity.
Marching band at a parade.
Marching
I'm
band
thinking of a million different
all
things.
those things contribute.
I know we're talking about 4th of July, but I'm just curious because more and more people are using the AirPods, the earbuds. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I'm glad you brought that up, because people will say, well, I wear air, and you know, it has noise protection. When it's not enough. They don't fully seal, and they can't really protect against this impulse noise like fireworks exploding. They work great when you're at the gym and you want to bring the noise down around you, but they're not a protection device. We do have a protection division called Sound Gear that people could go to, called www.soundgear.com, where they can look at different types of noise protection. But one thing, you know, the good old-fashioned foamy can serve as just something like an earplug. Put it in your ear. One thing, and I want to really stress, perhaps the most important thing I can talk about today is for children, infants and small children. Parents want to bring them to 4th of July picnics, parades, fireworks, but the kids, the smaller the ears, the bigger the need for protection, because they're very vulnerable to noise exposure. Remember that distance I talked about? Kids are often running to the source of the noise. So
should they use something like that?
They could use something like this, but and I'm just going to say, one of the things with kids, when I see them on TV, if they're at like a playoff game or something and it's super noisy, the earplug shouldn't be sticking halfway out of your ear. I see parents putting them in with the best of intention, but it just doesn't work. And those little narrow ear canals are better protected with ear muffs. So you're exactly right. I would say for young kids, ear muffs are a better source of protection because parents can see that they're on the ears, and those little ears are getting good protection.
Great.
Thank you
Good
for this
reminder
valuable
Fourth.
information.
Good
Yeah.
to see you too.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you.